Hi there, and welcome to the back of my hotel shuttle van. I'm currently heading to the second largest airport on Earth, by land area at least, at over 52 square miles. Today, I'm not going to be flying one of the big three operators out of Denver though. I'll be with Delta on a domestic first hop up to Seattle, which turned out to be much more than I bargained for. All of the airport shuttles will drop you off on the lower arrival level. Before I headed upstairs though, I needed to walk over and just get some views on this beautiful day of the Rockies in the distance. As a crow flies, we're around 15 miles from downtown Denver, and around 30 miles from the base of the mountains. But keep in mind, we are already at 5,200 feet here. One of the big reasons why this airport is so big is because these runways need to be really long. Before we head inside, get checked in and explore, let me welcome any of you that might be new to the channel. My name is Kevin. I'm here to give you a self-funded and honest look at some of the best and some of the not so best airlines and hotels in the world, which I've been bringing to you full time for the past 4 years. Check out my hundreds of videos, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to learn more about how I do things. This windy with a giant capital W trip report begins now. Denver's airport is famous for its tent-like terminal designed by Fentress Architects, which opened in 1995. But that famous terminal is actually just the check-in hall. The gates and satellites themselves are a long walk or a train ride away. Check-in is mostly self-service, with the odd occasion where the Sky Priority line is longer than the Economy line. When I was filming this US series, I genuinely learned a lot. I think sometimes it's easy to forget about how important and massive these mostly transit airports are to the aviation industry in the US. Denver is to United what Atlanta is to Delta. In 2024, Denver was the 6th busiest airport on Earth by passenger count with 82.4 million passengers. For context, number 5 was London Heathrow with 83.6 million, and number 7 was Istanbul with 79.9. Denver's passenger traffic has fully doubled in the past 20 years. As many of you know, when flying domestic first on the vast majority of flights in the US, except for select transcontinental ones, lounge access is not included with your ticket. So I headed to a very chaotic Capital One lounge, which was a bit disappointing, especially after my great experience in Dallas. My favorite interaction was with the barista at the bar. "Hi, could I get an iced Americano, please?" "Oh, we don't have any coffee, we ran out." "Ah, okay, I'll come back in a bit." "No, we don't know when we're gonna have coffee." Okay. The food selection also was not their strong suit. Delta just celebrated 100 years since their founding last month, but their origin story isn't what you might expect. They began as the world's first aerial crop dusting service, Huff DeLand Dusters Incorporated, in Macon, Georgia. Their passenger services began in 1929 from Dallas to Jackson, Mississippi, with stops in Shreveport and Monroe, Louisiana. Their modern trajectory is very similar to all of the other major American carriers. Essentially, deregulate and expand like bunnies in the spring during the 80s and 90s, go bankrupt in the early 2000s, buy another airline, thrive, COVID, thrive more. It's the legacy rinse and repeat, if you will. Delta did have a very odd advantage though, in that their bankruptcy was in 2005. It was kind of well timed. By 2007, they were back on their feet, and the year after that acquired Northwest Airlines. So by the time the financial crisis hit, they were already a whole new animal. Not to steal from Frontier, but they were back on their feet. Since then, Delta's story really has been about two things. First, defining themselves as America's preferred premium carrier. They assigned themselves this role, and in some regards have lived up to it. Most would agree that food and service on Delta is generally superior to their peers, while the seats, well, it just depends on which aircraft you're flying on. It looks like it's a beautiful day for flying. let's get on board our 1-year-old A220 and keep in mind that sometimes looks can be deceiving. Their expansion in the domestic first-class space, though, has been unprecedented. Back in 2011, only 14% of Delta's domestic first-class seats were sold outright as cash tickets. The rest were all occupied, if occupied, by upgrades, most of them free. By 2023, that itty-bitty 14% had grown to 88%, leaving little room for upgrades and putting a strain on Delta's system at large, which leads to the other thing. Delta's Sky Miles program has just been in this doom spiral of value. Customer value, that is. And to add insult to injury, they recently made even more changes to the program, as well as to their lounge access policies across the board. First class on these A220s are laid out in a 2-2 configuration with 3-2 in economy. That means that these first seats are ever so slightly more narrow than their counterparts on an A320 or 737, but it's not noticeable. The seats themselves are nicely decked out with every feature and knick-knack that you could imagine. And it even came pre-fitted with my seatmate's bag magically finding its way into that center space. If you're enjoying the video and would like to support the channel, there are many ways that you could do so. A quick like on the video and subscription helps the video with the algorithm. You could join my YouTube channel memberships to get early access to some videos and access to all of my community posts. Or you could check out my Patreon where I post the most and can help you out with any travel related questions. Whatever you do, thanks for doing it. Choice of pre-departure drinks were passed around, which I think is a nice touch. The open choice of it, that is. The safety video began. We pushed back and taxied to the runway. Just about to take off when all of the trouble started.
It's kind of changing the winds and the weather, and so we're in line for takeoff for 3-4 left right now. We're just kind of waiting to see what's going to happen when the winds settle out. We might be changing runways, but there'll be a little bit of delay in the takeoff here. And if it's going to be much longer, in about 10 minutes, I'll call you back. Thank you.
Y'all know what a microburst is? I'd heard of it, but I really didn't know. Turns out it's a sudden, powerful burst of air current, usually a downdraft, and there was a microburst alert at the end of the runway. Suddenly getting pushed into the ground as you lift off, probably not a good thing, and the airport then began a ground stop. By chance, we were the next aircraft in line to take off. Now, this is where Delta, as in the cabin crew and the pilots, really began to shine. We ended up waiting on the taxiway for 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Well, we almost got out, but they had another microburst alert there at the end of the runway, so we have to wait now for the alert to be inactive. And so we had to exit the runway, and we're just kind of waiting again for the winds to chill out a little bit right now. Thank you. What's going on right now? So we've got some kind of dangerous wind conditions around the airport. They've issued microburst alerts and also wind shear alerts. So we're just letting the microburst alerts go away and expire, and then when that's complete, it'll be safe to take off. So right now we're all kind of waiting. There's also aircraft holding. They're inbound to Denver Airport, and so there's been kind of no operation at the airport here for about the last 15 or 20 minutes. So once that settles out, and when it's safe to take off, we'll be doing that. We've got one engine shut down right now to conserve fuel. We might shut down a second one here shortly. We're going to give it a few more minutes. But that's what I know right now. Just as soon as...
Around 20 minutes into waiting, crew brought around a snack basket to first class. Some 20 minutes after that, they began serving drinks, which didn't stop for the next 2 hours. When I say this small cabin was lit before we took off, I'm not kidding. The crew were exceedingly friendly and just nice and patient, and were able to adapt to everybody's frustrations. Like, they were the definition of nice. Poised, held conversations with just about everyone. And before you ask, yes, they did give out drinks and snacks to economy as well.
We got another microburst alert there at the end of 16 right. So it's going to be a few minutes probably, and as soon as we get a period where we're clear those alerts, then we'll be able to get out of here. It takes us about 5 minutes to get going again, so as soon as I get word that we're going to start engines, I'll let you know. Do appreciate all your patience today. Thank you.
The most kudos of the day, though, has to go to the pilots, who kept us up to date literally every 10 to 15 minutes with exactly what was going on. We were changing runways, ready to go, then new alerts in the opposite direction, then changing runways again, almost ready to go, then shutting the engines down, then who knows. By the time we actually did take off, there was a round of applause as we lifted off because we knew we were about to go back to the gate. In case you didn't know, the US has a 3-hour rule for aircraft once the door is closed. If you're taxiing for longer than that, airlines will pay heavy federal fines.
And ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, we're starting the engines now. We're just going to need them either way, so if we can't get off the ground here in the next 15 minutes, then we'll have to start a taxi back to the gate. And then otherwise, we might be able to get out in that time too. The wind shears have all kind of disappeared here from 16 right. But now the problem, the wind has shifted directions and it's a tailwind, so either way we have to move here. So once we're committed to either going back to the gate or taking off, I'll be sure to let you know. But we're about to start taxiing here pretty soon. So if you're up and about, please turn your seats and fasten your seat belts. Thank you.
By the time we took off, I counted over 50 aircraft away from their gates. This is an operational nightmare.
We're going to make an effort to get off on the other runway, but there's some chance that we won't take off before we have to return to the gate. So we're going to give it a try, but right now we're going to do our best to make the takeoff.
By the way, did I mention that I have a 3-hour connection in Seattle? Yeah, you'll hear about that in my next Alaska video coming up. For meal selections, Delta allows you to choose online in advance. The choices were beef lasagna, Thai green curry chicken thighs, or an arugula salad with burrata. Happy hour continued, and my pre-selected green curry arrived. For a 2-hour domestic flight, this is a fantastic meal. I mean, there are honestly some mid-haul business class flights that I've been on that served less food, Virgin. The curry was mild but flavorful, the chicken tender, and the salad was fresh. The cookie, I'm sure at some point in its packaged life, was fresh, but I'll forgive the packagedness just today. It was also good. This meal overall is coming in at an 8.9 out of 10. Entertainment on board is extensive, with everything from movies to Spotify, plenty of TV series, games, and menu info as well. Restrooms on board were kept relatively spotless. I always do love an A220 lavatory. In every way, this flight fully exceeded my expectations. Let's face it, aviation is not an industry where you can rely on things going as you plan each day. And so having crew that are trained well enough and then thoughtful enough in real life to just keep you posted as if you were, adults, it's a rare thing to find these days, I think. Never have I gotten off of a flight that took 5 hours instead of 2 and was like, that was wonderful. As we continued northwest, the scenery kept getting greener and greener and greener. Almost shades of green that you didn't really think would exist in nature. I'll let you enjoy the beautiful landing. With today's flight, Delta is definitely moving up in my book. And since I get so many comments about this sheet, I'll start reminding everyone that they are my rankings based on the flights that I've had with each airline. These are not just generally what I think of every airline. If, for example, you want to know why Emirates is ranked where it is, my 5 Emirates videos will spell it out pretty well. So, time to run through this transit and hopefully make my next flight. I really do hope that you enjoyed this one with me today. If you did, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss my twice weekly videos. I'll see you next time from my last installment from Puerto Vallarta.